My name's Kam South. I'm the portfolio director for Retail Strategies. This year's Jack Blankenship. He's our retail recruitment coordinator for the state and as well for Benton. So tonight we're kind of going to go through a presentation that's it's labeled as our recruitment plan, but think as this as the city's comprehensive plan. This is our strategic vision. It's kind of going to go over the data that retail uses, the criteria, and some of the things that retailers look for when they want to enter a market. So I've got it down from 100 slides down to 45. So
we had to lower it just a little bit.
Yeah. So I had to do some last minute chopping. So if it doesn't transition, well, I apologize for that. But I think we can roll with it there. So we'll get started. So, as Lamont briefly mentioned, we started a partnership with Benton. Our main task at the end of the day is to bring retailers to the market and increase sales tax revenue. Cities live and breathe off of sales tax, and it also brings a different aspect in as well as quality of life as an aspect. We want retailers to come into Benton because retailer brings another retailer, brings another retailer, and brings another retailer. So city growth in the city is a very positive trajectory that we look at, and the same thing is what retailers look at. Here, this just shows kind of where our outreach and our bandwidth. We have 4 different offices. One in Georgia, our headquarters in Birmingham, Alabama. We have an office in Starksville, and we just finished an office in Fort Worth. Just quick saying that, hey, we appreciate the city of Benton and you guys entrusting us as your trusted retail advisor and partner. And this is just our process from community analysis, strategic planning, revitalization results, and from that, it circles back and forth from retailer to retailer. This is our leadership here. I'm there at the top, Jack and I, my CEO, our CFO, our president, Lazy Beasley, our CEO as well, and our vice president, Clay Craft, who's been in the state of Arkansas for over 10 years. This here just briefly goes over kind of our engagement and some of the things that we offer to the city of Benton. This here was the contents page, but again, I'm going to kind of skip through this as much as I can to save on time, but I'll briefly discuss a few of these agenda points here. 1 in 4 jobs in retail. Your average hourly and average annual pay for this sector, well, not necessarily the sector, but for the positions within retailers.
Hey, Kim?
Yes.
Would you move on the other side of the screen up next to that speaker? Thank you.
Absolutely. Don't look at this here as kind of like, what is the top tier? What are we looking at in a market? What is the best retailer? This here just briefly goes over the amount of unit sales that this retailer does and then what it accounts for in sales tax. Retail is complicated, especially with COVID-19. I know you guys have changed your shopping methods and how you commerce throughout the community and through the city and the type of products you're buying, as well as the giants like Amazon, e-commerce giants. E-commerce is on the rise. It's something that we can't stop. That's just something we have to bridge into brick and mortar. Omnichannel, kind of going back to that, bricks and clicks. Some of the big retailers that you see that's falling, like Kmart and Shopko's and the Herbergers and things on that line, when they don't bring in their omnichannel and you have an online presence, they tend not to work well in this type of new age of retail. We look at the community from many different variables. We look at it from a geographic variable, we look at from over 3,000 unique variables, from site analysis, from a demographic profile, tapestry segmentation, mosaic segmentation, category-centric reports, and over 23,000 different variables we analyze in general just for one site. This slide here goes over the multiple ways that, again, I talked about lifestyle segmentation, about the way we go after recruiting retailers. Every retailer is different. They don't always go by the same set of rules. They don't look for the same type of research. They don't need the same demographics. So Again, everything here isn't exclusive to every retailer, but it's different key points that we want to highlight depending on the retailer's site criteria. How you see Benton, you can go on Google Maps and type Benton in. First thing you're going to see is that red line that shows the city limits. So, I talked to Lamont and a couple other people earlier today, it was that we don't, from a retailer standpoint, we don't look at city boundaries. It's not something that necessarily a retailer looks at. They won't look at something called a custom trade areas. How much from this community does that core consumer travel from to shop in Benton? And this is kind of how retailers and how we look at certain sites and certain demographic layers in order to make sense and to balance out criteria that's needed for a retailer. This is currently your demographic playbook. Again, going back to that type of demographic we're looking for, that 3-mile radius, that 5-mile radius, that 5-minute drive time, that 10-minute drive time, you can kind of look at each one of these number sets here, these data set points, and kind of tell what looks right. I mean, not necessarily what looks right, but what it looks like within that criteria time. Mobile data collection is just another thing that we use and also what retailers use. Pretty much, has anyone here ever read the book 1984, George Orwell? This is kind of what this goes over a little bit. Not trying to scare anyone, but when you turn your location services on your phone, it can be tracked, and that data is sold. It doesn't show you where, it doesn't tell you where you're living. It just shows you where you're shopping, where you're going. It sets a ping out. And retailers buy this information from your cell phone companies. They kind of see where you are shopping from, where you live at, where those rooftops are at. The customized trade area, again, we want to embark on how can we present the city to a retailer, and how does it make sense? What are they looking at when they want to establish a new store in the community? So the custom trade area brings the marketing pool in total. As you can see, spread way outside that city boundaries. That's the reason we don't ever send city boundary statistics or data to retailers. This here is just some quick numbers that we have. Within that custom trade area, you're looking at 169,000. This is very positive growth. This is what retailers want to see. They want to see a community that grows. They want to see a custom trade area that grows. They want to see that household income grow as well. Your average male population as well as your average female age. Your custom trade area, you're looking at 70,000 different households here. And you're looking at around 63,217. And this is, again, from a very different variable that's ran. Excuse me. This is looking at your daytime population within that that variable set, within that CTA. You can kind of look and see here that you're looking at your highest segmentation, 31% is employed. You've got a higher segmentation of children at home. Current year estimated population by enrollment. And your gap analysis. So gap, or you might have heard something called leakage study. Your gap and your leakage is something that we look at to see what is needed in the community. Your gap and your leakage shows where each one of you guys shop outside of the city limits and what those categories you're shopping at. Because that just shows that, okay, maybe this community is missing, you know, another grocery store, maybe it's missing a clothing store, maybe it's missing a hardware store or something on that line. So right now, the total market supply, you're looking at 1,996,205,017. Total market demand, you're looking at $2,583,408,271. And we have a gap to close at $587,203,254. And this here is just one temporary kind of gap study that we ran, depending on the location. Wherever we run the study from, it's going to vary. The numbers are going to change, but you kind of see these total gap numbers here in these categories. And this here kind of points out again to what those type of target categories that we need to focus on. This is a peer analysis. Peer analysis, again, this is in a different, it's its own demographic set point and data set point at a 10-minute drive time from wherever we put that little dot at. We can find these numbers out here. But with the peer analysis, it's a comparison report. How do you stack up to your peer communities just like yours off of that? So we use Benton, Arkansas, and its numbers within that 10-minute drive time to stack against client communities, not necessarily client communities, I'm sorry, to stack against communities just like ours, like our client community. Here it just shows you the retailers that your peer has that, again, that's similar in size, similar in market supply, similar in gap and leakage of what you're missing. You're looking at, as Benton has, darker blackish gray color. For automobiles, you're looking at 12 versus 15, 4 versus 5, 6 versus 7, 14 versus 15, and so on and so on. And again, these are just random variable set points that we pulled. Boots on the ground, we're here today. We came in early this morning. We've been touring the market all day, getting those variable set points, finding those sites, getting our measurements. We're cataloging every property. We're reaching out to property owners. We're reaching out to local brokers and real estate firms that have these listings. We're looking at those traffic counts. We're looking at the vehicles per day. We're going to look at the egress, ingress to a certain site to see if that makes sense for a retailer. We're looking at topography. Again, this is just like I just routed off. We're looking at all these different things, and this is for one site, just one site. We compare all these, we look at all these depending on every site that we catalog in the market. Just from a very high level view, what we call home run real estate, we're looking for that signage and visibility. Is it buried behind a store? Is it behind a industrial complex? Is it behind a school? Is it close to a apartment complex? We're looking at the parking needs. Most soft good users, some of the bigger ones, require somewhere between 80 to 100 dedicated parking spaces. If they can't do it, they can't get those parking spaces, they won't come into a market. We talked about access. Right in, right out is kind of detrimental when it comes to certain retailers. They want to be where they can have a full dedicated turn lane, or they want to be at a hard corner with a stoplight. Co-tenancy. Again, back to the soft good users, they want to see who's in that shopping center with them. They want to see who they can get from the cross-traffic shopping. Say, hey, I go in and buy a new jacket for church. They're going to have they may put a full-service restaurant out front because they know that, okay, well, maybe after church I can go buy my jacket and then go have lunch. There we go. Let's go back here. So this currently right now is the retailers that are set in place in the market to just give you a high-level overview. Retailers look at this because, again, when it goes back to co-tenancy, they kind of see like, okay, this Academy's place there. We got Home Depot over here. We have Arby's down here. Let's look for some sites near those. And these here are just examples of sites that we're cataloging and looking at throughout the market. I'll skip through these here, as you can see. And currently, after we run our numbers, run our reports, usually we tackle this when we get back to the market after we've done our full inventory of properties. But we want to target restaurants. We want to target general merchandise. We want to target those clothing stores. We want to target those miscellaneous retailers. So when it comes to real estate terms, let's just say, hey, Walmart wants to open a new store. They want to open 100 new stores over the next 5 years. Well, that real estate manager, Walmart, can't do that by themselves. So they employ those local tenant representatives to go out and find sites in their communities. They usually reach out to a local brokerage firm that handles, a state or may handle a certain area of the state. and they kind of divvy those duties out. Most QSRs, a quick service restaurant or fast food restaurant is an easier term to say there. They want to find those franchisee brokers that kind of buy in to get a new site going for them. We represent you guys at ICSC and mostly any retail conference or show across the country. Jack and I, we traveled to multiple cities just recently. We went to Dallas at ICSC there, ICSC Red River, where we met with a lot of itinerant brokers and retailers. Kind of go over the opportunities that we see and that we've learned in the market. Our ongoing efforts, we're providing strategy updates, we're providing retail expansion and trends, on-demand reporting, and all this is accumulated because we want you guys to see what it takes and kind of the groundwork and the legwork that's going on behind the scenes. Kind of not necessarily in a generic way, but in a generalized way, because again, as Lamont mentioned, we have to be extremely confidential when it comes to certain retailers, mostly all retailers, because it could kill a deal, pricing and all that. If someone finds out that someone's coming, they can jack the price up and that would kill a deal just like that. And that's the end of my presentation. Jack is going to go over a little bit of kind of what the current traction we are going in the market, but again, he's going to be very generalized about what we're bringing.
Yeah, I'm here to talk about all the fun stuff y'all paid us for, stuff's gonna get us excited. Like Cam said, and we kind of got to reiterate, I wish I could drop names and all that. It's just, that's kind of how the way the deal goes, is it's just impossible to do it. Also, what I want to kind of reiterate is we've been working with this company, or with Benton, for about 6 months now. In the grand scheme of retail, that is just a drop in the bucket. These things do take a while. So the things I'm going to speak on are going to be pretty high level, but also it's really important to remember that it's just 6 months. This do take years, sometimes multiple years, to get this going. But that being said, Benton right now is hotter than any market I've seen in a while. In 6 months we've had the pleasure of working for. So I'm just going to get right to it. There's been 2 national chicken users we've had face-to-face combos with in Dallas, and then over the phone, a couple we're meeting with tomorrow even, that have expressed genuine interest in a couple of sites here they're really, really excited about. And then one in particular we were talking to didn't know what Benton was until I showed it to him. He talked to his subsidiary and he said, "Why are we not here?" He just couldn't believe it. The numbers didn't make sense for them not to look at it yet. So all that being said, it's just kind of incredible to see the momentum we've already carried over as of right now. We've had a national Southwest chain user, don't want to give anything away, but talking to us recently, kind of saying the same thing. They weren't looking at the sites we were looking at. They pretty much said, we have our eyes on another part of the market. So what's really exciting about that is they were looking here before we were even employed. So I kind of like that idea of it. 2 national smoothie users have been looking in the market frequently. We've had meetings with both in Dallas we're able to talk to extensively. They are the same thing. They were just kind of, it was like an eye-opener to see this untapped market and all this potential they have here. Let's see here. And then we got a couple of pizza places that are really kind of saying the same thing. They just are pretty shocked at the value we have here. And then last but not least, we have a couple of big box stores we're really trying to look at and hone in on. The only thing with them is, with construction as being what the cost is, it's really hard for them to build ground up space. So that means backfilling. And to backfill, you have to have the bands already there. You already got to have everybody ready. So essentially what that means is we need a box to go vacant in order for them to come. That's not saying they're not very interested in the market, they don't love the numbers. It's just kind of the nature of the beast these days with construction being what it is. And then we have one kind of, it's more a Southwest chain, but they're very interested in the market of Benton in terms of ice cream, burgers, and kind of a fresh market deal and all in between. It's sort of a all-in-one stop, but it's a wonderful, wonderful place. Like I said, I wish I could really go into details on these names. It kind of ruins the fun here sometimes. But like I said, it's been incredible traction so far. I'm not just saying that because I'm speaking to the board. It's just kind of overwhelming to see the progress we've gotten in these 6 months. Now, I know I didn't get to speak very in the details, but we're happy to answer any questions you have on these, any property questions, any terms of how our business goes, we're happy to talk about. So thank you for the time.